5th, 2017 Town Board meeting. Please ask everybody to please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jeff Renahan, First Ward.
Joe Carlo, Second Ward. Joseph Lepore, Fifth Ward.
Ann Shershen, Sixth Ward. Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, Attorney for the Town.
John Bailey, Town Supervisor. Tonight, at the beginning of our agenda, we have public hearings. The first one's on Dutchess Golf Course. The second one's an unsafe building on 2 Meadow Drive. The third one is an unsafe building at 245 Wilbur Boulevard. And public hearing number 4 is Town Code amendment to stop signs on Main Street, Reed Road, and Channingville Road. With that, I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing number 1, which is 2628 South Road, Dutchess Golf Course.
Second.
The motion is second for the first public hearing.
Good evening, members of the Town Board. Rebecca Volk from the law firm of Mackey, Butts & Wise. This public hearing was opened at your March 1st meeting. At that time, there were no comments from the public. The matter was adjourned for purposes of allowing the Planning Board to conduct seeker review, and I'm pleased to report that at its March 16th meeting, it did adopt a negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act with regards to this application.
Thank you, Rebecca. Is there anybody else that would like to step right up?
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Armstrong. I have a question about what the plan is for that building. Can you tell me what's happening and what that means?
They were doing the review process through the Planning Board, and then the Planning Board gives us their interpretation of what they think, whether there's an impact or not an impact. There's no change to the building at all. He's not using the building. He's basically taking a line behind the building, going the length of the property line, and he's going to turn it into office space. And he's not making any major changes. He's not selling anything off. We're just rezoning the front. This is about rezoning the front piece of the property so he can put an office park in there.
But it's going to be an office park for his 2 companies.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be like doctor's offices and other businesses. It's going to be for the owner's 2 businesses, which are also medical monitoring businesses.
Okay, so, because, I live off of Route 9, and as you know, Route 9's just become really impossible to go up and down. And a couple of eyesores with Golden Corral and that whole fiasco. So I just want to know that if you're making changes and you're making decisions, that they're based on businesses that are going to be here.
There'll be less traffic. There'll be less traffic than the golf course, because in the golf course you have events and cars going up and down. So
right, but I'm just concerned that as you build the tax base, that it's based on facts and fiscal responsibility. You turn something into something else, and then what? A couple of years later, it turns into something else because you want the revenue. I'm still a little sore about how the country club that could have been a park for our town ended up becoming off the charts anyway because it became a school. So I have concerns about how the decisions are made as to what's going to be on Route 9 and how it's going to impact our taxes and our quality of life on Route 9.
We're hoping that this office park will be very low impact due to the fact that it's 2 medical companies that will be in there, and he's not looking to expand anything at this time. He's trying to make an office park feature, and he has no plans at this time to do anything with the back end of the property at all. So we're not rezoning the whole property so it couldn't turn into a big office park. We're just rezoning the front section of the park.
So what's happening to the back section?
He's going to mow it and maintain it, and that's it. It's not going to be a golf course. He wants to turn it into an office park where he can walk.
So he's going to be putting more buildings back there?
No.
No, it's just going to be open space.
And that's like in part of the language for
You're only
the
rezoning,
town of Poughkeepsie?
you're only rezoning the front. He's not getting a rezone to the whole parcel. He can't go back there and build that back there.
So if he wanted to go back there and build back there, he would have to
Come
present
back.
a new plan
And come
and
back.
the whole thing.
Correct.
Did you state your name? I'm sorry, I think I missed.
I did,
Your
Elizabeth Armstrong,
your address?
your fifth ward.
Okay. Close to the golf course, I assumed that.
Yeah. So, but really, Route 9 has just become harder and harder in that area. And, you know, I really, it's upsetting that, you know, that this Golden Corral, I mean, it was an eyesore anyway, but, and how the building is sitting, it's just ugly. And now it's empty. So, does anybody know what's going to happen with that?
Right now, it's going through a litigation process. We don't know what's going with that. They pulled her contract, so they have to litigate. It's her building. And once you get done with that, they've told us things, but it's nothing that you can guarantee because nothing's been settled.
So how did they get approved to be there if they were having such financial troubles?
I don't even know if it was financial. They just pulled her contract. I don't know what her
So
status
when
was.
you're approving or looking at how you're going to go about approving a business on Route 9, which is the thoroughfare for our county, you don't look at financial health of the company?
No, that's not our responsibility. It's the responsibility of the property owner and the people that are building the project and the Golden Corral that she bought the franchise from to look at that end.
Yeah, our duty is to make sure the building is built right, that our building department goes through the process, to do the due diligence, their work, make sure it's safety for the people that will go into the restaurant. That's our job. We don't ask questions if you have money to build the building. Actually, they build it, they finish, they start the business, and then a month later, there is some issue. So we did our part as far as having a business in the town. We did our part to create jobs in the town. So after that,
Well, it didn't create jobs because it's
well,
there
again,
and it's, you know, it's
originally
done.
supposedly we create jobs, but we have no control as far as it comes with that.
And we're probably just as upset as you are that they left because it was a
Yep.
busy business and it's just a shame that it closed being that she didn't hold up her end of the contract with the franchise.
Well, I just wish there was a better way to, you know, if you're going to build up, I mean, can't you spread it out a little bit? I mean, you can't get in the right lane to make a right turn off of that road because you're going to be behind 100 cars. I mean, they're all turning right, and there's, you know, the traffic, the way they're connected, you didn't do a perimeter road. I mean, I think it was poor planning. So, I mean, can't they go back and take a look at how to better access these areas? I mean, it's terrible the way it
If
is
they
right
come
now.
back to the planning board in their next process to change anything, if it's not a Golden Corral, they'll probably have to go in front of the planning board again unless they're using the same exact footprint.
And now the credit union's going in, right? So, and are they going to have turn access from Route 9?
No extra ones, it's just that one, and they're not allowed to turn on to IBM Road to go to the top of the hill. They're going to have they purchased the house behind it to come out in the back street, so they're not near the light, so they can't cause that congestion coming up to the light.
Okay, all right. That was my question. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Is there anybody else who would like to discuss 2628 South Road Dutchess Golf Course? If not, we have a motion to close the public hearing. Motion, we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Jeff?
Whereas the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie held a duly noticed public hearing on March 1st, 2017, and on April 5th, 2017, at 7 p.m. at the town of Poughkeepsie Town Hall, 1 over Rocket Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, to amend the town code chapter 210, article 3, specifically section 210-11, to change the zoning designation 2628 South Road, tax parcel number 6160-01235-760, as set forth in the attached local law from resident single-family 2-acre R2A District to the Highway Business BH District for a project known as Dutchess Golf Club rezoning and site plan. And whereas the town clerk notified the clerks of the surrounding municipalities of the public hearing pursuant to GML 239 NN, and whereas the legal notice of public hearing was posted on February 6, 2017, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on February 10, 2017, and whereas the town board closed the public hearing on April 5, 2017, and whereas town planning board, as the lead agency, issued a negative declaration, determination of no significance on March 16, 2017, and whereas the planning board recommend approval of the proposed zoning amendment by resolution dated March 16, 2017, and whereas the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development by memorandum received February 28, 2017, determined that the proposed zoning amendment is a matter of local concern, and therefore being enacted, the town board hereby adopts the said zoning map amendment as set forth in attached local law, and be it further enacted by the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie as follows: pursuant to Article 3, 210-11 of the town code, the zone designation of that portion of tax parcel number 6160-01-235760 of approximately 11 acres as shown on Exhibit A to Town Board Resolution 1-18, number 4 of 2017, located at 2628 South Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, is hereby amended from residence single-family 2-acre R2A to Highway Business BH District. Be it further enacted, said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or anything on that? Comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our second public hearing is an unsafe building on 2 Meadowview Drive. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the public hearing number 2.
Second.
The motion is second. Good evening, Mr. Sushant. Here we'd like to discuss 2 Meadowview Drive. Now, Wayne, would you like to discuss 2 Meadowview Drive?
We could do this with the TV or without it. What's your choice? Take me a couple of minutes to pull it up.
We'll give you time.
Yeah.
More light there, Wayne? Did I turn the-
No, that's fine, Felicia. Thank you.
Very long file. Take too many pictures, Wayne.
Sometimes it's better to come in here and start it all up and just wait for a black screen, you know. It's got to run through a couple of things to warm up. Yeah, see, as soon as I go to pull it up.
Very nice.
Just on number 2. Oh, she just stepped down.
Okay. I think we're ready to start. My name is Wayne Seashon, Deputy Building Inspector for the Town of Poughkeepsie, New York. Tonight we're here for a couple of public hearings. The first one is on this next property, 2 Meadowview Drive. A brief synopsis. Building Inspector Sickles was called out to the property back in October of last year after receiving a complaint on the property. His investigation found that the building was unsafe as it sat, so it was posted by the Town Building Department as an unsafe structure. I was asked to follow up on it to document the violations on board, which we did, and all are part of the file that you've all been given a copy of. So with that, we've hit all the right dates with all of the services on the property, but you needed to see exactly some of the things that were going on there. So this is what the property looked like on the dates that you're seeing. I can tell you that there's no change in status for it at this point. I was by there last week, and it is still in this condition that you're seeing it by these pictures. So we've got a number of broken windows and things of that nature all around. There's a lot of garbage, as you're starting to see. There's pieces and debris everywhere. I've had a couple of calls from some of the neighbors that are concerned about the property because they see people from time to time coming in and out of there. We don't know if they're adults or if they're kids, because that part of it doesn't normally come to us. It's just the concern that they've seen people walking there. So what you have is unrestricted access from the street. Walk right up the driveway, you walk and maneuver around this debris right here, and you're right inside the house. So it's unsecure in a number of locations too. This is what it looks like up in the front, right by the walkway. As you can tell, the door is wide open. We try not to, enter into property until we find these kinds of conditions where it's unsecure. And that's when we'll knock on the door, we'll announce ourselves, and be asking if anybody's here so we could at least talk to somebody, but alas, nobody here. So this is like what it looks like inside the structure as you walk in that front door. Coming around to the side to the back, we've got broken windows everywhere, all open. So this is a place that kids can get into with virtually no restriction. Electric everywhere, and I point out this one just because we don't know what that is, and those wires are actually dangling and exposed. As you can see, they pretty much speak for themselves. Inside, all the way to the bedrooms. These are the main living rooms. The heating system's obviously down in the place. There's virtually no electric to it now. We had a request into Central Hudson to cut the taps at the pole so that somebody couldn't inadvertently come in and get it turned back on without us knowing about it. What you're seeing on that left side is that section of wall. That's a whole section of a wall that just is caved into the room. Kitchen area, and I know it shows a little dark. It's better on the computer, and it doesn't do it justice by any means. And this is usually what an abandoned property looks like that we deal with in the town. Like they just walked out in the middle of the night kind of thing. Mm-hmm. This is one of the things that really makes me nervous about unrestricted access into the building, beyond the obvious. You know, when you get to these things, and nobody thinks that it's a big deal, but those broken bulbs like that, they actually contain mercury. And it's a clean mercury. It's made so that it works inside a vacuum chamber, but once they're broken, that stuff can actually do damage to you. Living room area. Basement. We've got numbers of punctures from burst pipes in the place. Mm-hmm. And the water department had already come by this point and shut the water off. Recreation room downstairs. There's just no way to get to anything in there. This is the staircase from the basement to the main floor of the house. Mm-hmm. And our firefighters having to go in to try to battle something that might have been in there, it's just, there's no reason for that. They shouldn't be subject to that. And it happened everywhere. Burst pipes everywhere, ceilings falling down, insulation falling down. So we get to our condemn and we make sure we put notices up on the doors to meet certain legal obligations and to make sure that everybody knows not to come in here. Gave the opportunity to be heard as a separate issue besides this public hearing. Wasn't taken advantage of. And as you can see by this one, we have footprints in the snow after that little snowstorm before the big one. I went back after the big snowstorm and there were again footprints in the snow. We don't know who's making it, but certainly somebody was going into the place. So currently, it's unfit for human occupancy, and occupancy has been prohibited. It's clearly unsafe and cannot be used for its lawful purposes. Vacant, unsecured, open at all the doors, meets the criteria of your Article 71 criteria. Attractive nuisance to the minors, vagrants, and other trespassers. Rodents and vermin are present. It's an unsafe hazard and threat to the health and the safety and welfare of property in the town of Poughkeepsie. That's what I have on that. If you have any questions.
Wayne, since the property is so close to the road, is our duty to put a construction fence prior to the property so no one will come into the property? Is that something that we do? Or
we don't typically do that. What we look for, as was noted in the unsafe building investigation report, is we look to secure the building at all ground level entry type points and remove whatever garbage and debris is all out there. So whatever shows up on that property, we would take out of there in the event that the owner doesn't do it within the time frame that's set under town law.
So right now it's been almost 3 months, right, since you were there?
Just about.
And with the major snowstorm that we got a couple of weeks ago, I assume there'd be more damage to the property, which is more dangerous, stuff like that. Why does it take 3 months to clear the property and and not leave in the condition? Because it looks like a fire hazard. I mean, I noticed some copper still intact. Lucky nobody went to get it, but there's a major, I noticed by the mercury that you noticed, there was a can, which also can create fire to the property. So what is our role as a town not to have a property like that? And it's a burden to the neighbors that I'm sure they have a beautiful property and maintain that. Why is it taking so long for us to remove some of the debris? That's my question. And I know there's a law in the state and stuff like that. So.
I'm sure. Really what it comes down to is making sure that the town doesn't overstep its boundaries to move too fast on something. Because there's times when an owner might not be there. It could have been a tenant that caused the problems type of scenario. And we don't know these things going into it. So typically once we post an order and we get what we get, which is we do our service of posting on the property and putting in certified return receipt mail as part of the notification process, service process to the owner. When they accept it, that clock begins to tick for us from that point on. Usually that triggers them to at least pick up the phone and give us a call. And we can tell them, and advise them the best way to begin their process to repair. And that's typically what happens here is it doesn't hit the marks, it doesn't hit what are typically, the time periods that we allow for, and we keep moving forward.
But it seems this property has been like this for quite a while because you don't, generate so much debris in overnight. This seems to be months prior to when you were there. So I just, it's just a shame to see a property like that in that condition and so on and so forth. But great job. Your presentation getting better and better and very detailed. I mean, it's like being there. So thank you very much, and thanks for answering those questions for me. Thank you, Wayne.
Is there anybody else in the audience? Come on right up.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. There's some other neighbors here as well. My name is Brooke Gifford, and I've lived for 23 years at 1 Meadowview Drive, right across the street from this house. So I have watched the deterioration over the years, and we are we were trying to plan to put our house on the market within the next month, and I don't see how we're going to sell our house. This is way beyond what would even be halfway normal, and I will tell you that it would be, I'm 99.9% sure that the people who lived there, and there's been a long history with those folks that I don't want to get into, they are not going to do any remediation or cleanup or anything. I know that for sure. And I don't see how I could possibly show my house when they see what's across that street. So I am curious to know as to what the typical timetable is for cleaning it up, getting rid of the garbage. I assume that, you guys are going to order that the windows be boarded up. I would ask that they be painted white because it's going to look like Harlem in the 70s if it's just wooden boards with no paint. You have to think of the property owners. You have to think of the value of the property. We are going to lose thousands of dollars because of this house. That is not your problem per se, but we have a very serious situation, and we've been taxpayers for 23 years in this town. So I'm, curious to know what is the typical timetable? How much time does the clock tick for that you allow who lived there to clean it up? But I will tell you it's not going to happen. So then where do we go forward? Because here we are, April, and nothing's been done. And I have witnessed myself several people going in and out of the house at night, at least on 2 occasions. There were also U-Haul trucks. Last weekend, the female owner, was collecting stuff. But that aside, really getting the cleanup done and the windows taken care of so that I could even think about selling my house, and then safety. I mean, I sound like I'm emphasizing that last, which I don't mean to, but it's obviously you already covered that point very well. So this is a serious situation. I mean, if someone were to buy our house and we close, you have a very unsafe situation for a family moving in. So I have several questions about this, and I imagine some other folks here do as well.
No, we agree. That is an issue. Some people always tell us that we shouldn't be expending taxpaying dollars going forward to do this, but it gets put on the tax bill. If I'm not mistaken, Wayne, they have 30 days to respond, and then we can go in and clean it up, and we put it on the tax bill. So whenever somebody does buy or sell a house, we get reimbursed at that point for it. So it is a burden to the taxpayer for a little bit, but it gives you justification for having your neighborhood and having your house cleaned up, to a point. So we have to. This process here gives them, correct Wayne, 30 days.
It begins at 30, they're required by, under the resolution, they would be required to start the cleanup no later than 30 days and complete it by 60 days.
30 days from what date, I'm sorry?
It'll be from the date that it's actually served on the property.
Which would be when?
Typically what happens is after this, if this gets approved tonight, typically within 24 or so hours, I will get a signed copy of the resolution from the town supervisor. I will make sure that the proper service is done at the property, and once I do that service, that's when the clock starts ticking.
Can we cut the 60 days, because it seems to be now, it's been a long time, and I don't know what is...
It's been years, I can't speak to the deterioration of the house on the inside, but I can tell you over 12 years, I have watched it deteriorate.
I think Mr. Nelson might have a comment for that.
The building department in this resolution does reserve its right, but only in a situation where something is deemed to be an imminent threat to public health or safety to proceed. And these are things which are in the code. Mr. Shishan does reserve or ask the board to reserve that right to him. On the other hand, it does have to be truly imminent, because what we're dealing with are property rights, which do have constitutional connections to them. So,
who owns the house? Is that on foreclosure?
It's on, the name that's on there is Mr. James Burns Jr.
Now, Wayne, I noticed in those pictures, were there any structural elements that were imminent danger, like the building collapse, or were they non-bearing walls, bearing walls, or?
The one wall was a non-bearing wall, and it was a small section that was taken down. The downstairs looks to be fairly intact, other than the obvious debris that you see. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't have classified it as an imminent danger. That's typically safe for buildings that are driven into, have suffered fires or explosions type of things. It's a strong measure if you're going to use it. And typically we wouldn't make that as a decision on our own. Mm-hmm. We would actually call for engineering backup if we're going to institute an imminent danger type of a scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, and also you have to keep in mind, it's actually a 30-day deadline. If we don't hear from them within 30 days to begin the cleanup, it doesn't matter. We can start after 30 days ourselves to go in and clean it up. The 60 days is their final. They must be completely done by 60 days, but they have to get started in 30 days.
Well, anything that can be done, please, I'm begging.
I think you need more than 30 days to clean that.
I am begging, okay? I will not be able to sell my house
We'll make sure
with the trash and the broken windows. It will not happen. So whatever could be done to expedite it would be very much appreciated. So
we'll make sure we get it to Mr. Sishan as soon as possible to get it moving.
Thank you so much.
Get cleaned up. No, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to discuss this public hearing? Wait 1 second, Mr. Armstrong.
Hi, Joe Creighton, live 3 Slate Hill, caddy corner to the house. My one question is, what other remediation capabilities are there? Talking about boarding it up. It looks horrible. Who knows if it's something somebody can, reclaim and use. Just boarding it up doesn't seem like a long-term solution for the neighbors, for sure. Are there any other capabilities? It's just putting wood on the walls and calling it a day, and then it sits there. We have 2 other properties on Hagen, pretty close to us, that are fallow as well.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't think we can take it down unless it's, structurally unsafe. We can do clean it up the best we can, and we have a little maintenance coming, but at least, mow the grass and maintain it to a certain point. We don't have the right to just go in and take the house. A lot of times, it sounds like it could be possibly going through a foreclosure process, which could be drawn out, but we try to make them look as clean and neat as possible, as livable as possible, without taking somebody's total property.
Okay. So the other question is, how quickly would it be boarded up? We wouldn't have to wait 30 days for the boarding process, would we?
Yeah.
Yes, you would.
So people can go in it for the next 30 days? Even though it's understood, really?
Unfortunately.
Okay. All right.
It's different if I think the bank, and correct me if I'm right, if the bank owned the property, then we will get on the bank to border up the property now, right, Wayne?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because it's a private home. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Armstrong? Go ahead. Go on.
Thank you. I'll be quick. Kathy Hoey, 4 Slate Hill Drive. Our side of the house faces the back of their house, so our backyards butt up against each other on a corner. And I just want to really reiterate, and validate everything that's been said about the condition. We've also been there for 21 years and watched the deterioration. And up until I think about a month and a half ago, there were animals living in the house while the people were not there, uninhabited. I guess they might have come in at night and fed them a little bit, but for the most part they were unattended. So there was all the thing about feces and all that is no surprise on the inside, because we heard the dogs, they'd be tethered outside on a very short leash, very aggressive dogs, probably because they weren't treated well. So there's that in there. So I guess I would again just re-emphasize that. And also, I don't understand how, with what you've seen, it's not considered imminent, with broken glass and hanging wires outside. I just don't see how that's not completely imminent, because any child could walk up there and slash their wrists or get electrocuted or be exposed to harmful elements. So I don't see how that's not imminent, and I just wanted to say that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Armstrong?
I got a couple of questions on it. Are the authorities, fire and police, notified of these particular buildings that are like this? Not that they can see the obvious if they have to go there, but is there any notification to these organizations to what buildings are abandoned or in bad shape, or so they know what they're getting into before they even get there with some of these places?
On this particular property, yes, they've been advised.
Okay. You said that you sent out a return receipt mail, and if you don't get a response from it, what does that mean? What's the next move? Then you have to wait the 30 days to do it anyway?
We still wait the 30 days and move.
Then the mail doesn't matter if you get it back or not?
It's just the proof that the town did their due diligence.
Okay. I think that's all I was. And do we know where these people are living now, that when they moved out of there? Is there any way that we know where they are, or we're just guessing?
I have not found them.
Haven't found them. So how would you know where to send the mail? You send it to this address?
You have to send it to the last address that the
Which would be this one?
That the assessing records
we know that's not coming back.
to be in compliance with New York State law.
Is there anybody else who would like to discuss this public hearing?
Hi, my name is Jane Pensiero. I live at 7 Slate Hill Drive, which is basically just across the street from this house. My house looks at the side of this house. And it was only Monday I was working on my computer, which faces the front, and I see 2 cars pull up, and it's the family and with the children, and they're going in and out of the house taking whatever they can grab. But what really bothers me is that I've seen the police at that house so many times over the years, and they've been in the house, and I just don't understand how that was allowed to continue for so long to have these children living in this condition, and nobody seemed to do anything about it. I know there were complaints made to the appropriate agencies, and there were many visits to the house, but nothing ever seemed to come of it. So it's escalated now to this point where I'm glad that the children are out of there and don't have to live under those conditions anymore. And hopefully they're living in a better place. But now it's left to all of us, the neighbors, to deal with this total mess. And anything you can do as quickly as you can do it would be greatly
I
appreciated.
think Wayne's doing his best to push it forward as quick as possible, because I understand and looking at the pictures, I can definitely, it's not something that happened overnight.
Right.
No.
And even right before they left, for months and months before they left, they would sit outside every night and have a fire right outside. And they'd be out there for hours sitting around the fire right in the front of the house. And I just don't even know how that was allowed to continue. So it's just terrible. So please help us.
We'll address and get it cleaned up as soon as possible.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else like to address this public hearing? If not, could a motion to close the public hearing?
To move.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Carlos?
Resolution 2, whereas by Resolution 3-1, number 3 of 2017, adopted on March 1st, 2017, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie has determined that the premises and the buildings located at 2 Meadowview Drive, Poughkeepsie, County of Dutchess, State of New York, bearing grid number 6160-0470-1204, hereinafter the premise. The owner of record being James J. Burns, Jr., are dangerous, unsafe, and dilapidated, and an imminent threat to the general public. And whereas the Town Board has adopted the Building Department's unsafe building investigation report regarding the premises and directed the issuance of an order and notice requiring demolition or repair of the premises, and the setting of a public hearing regarding the order and notice. And whereas said order and notice of a public hearing has been served and posted, which order included a direction that the work required begin immediately and must be commenced no later than 30 days from the date of service of the order and notice, and be completed no later than 60 days thereafter. And gave further notice that on failure to timely comply, the Town Board is authorized to repair or demolish and remove the building, or to seek an injunction to compel the owner to do so, and assess the expenses thereof against the premise as a special ad valorem levy under the Town Law, Article 15, and to institute proceedings to collect the expenses of such work. And whereas the Town of Poughkeepsie has in the order and notice reserved its right to proceed more rapidly with the remediation of the site if it is required pursuant to Town Code 71 sub 12. And whereas the legal notice of the public hearing was posted on March 13, 2017, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on March 17, 2017, and whereas said public hearing has been held this day, now therefore be it resolved that in the event that the owner has not timely commenced or completed repairs or demolition, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie authorizes and directs the Building Department to demolish and remove the building by town employees or by a responsible contractor making the lowest price proposal to the town consistent with Town Code 7110, and to thereafter assess against the premise and levy and collect the expenses of same as provided in Article 15 of the Town Law for the levy and collection of a special ad valorem levy, and be it further resolved that this work is an enforcement proceeding and is therefore a Type 2 action which is exempt from environmental review under 6 New York CRR 6175 sub C sub 29. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any more questions on this one? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0, and we will move as diligently as we possibly can to clean that up for you. We have a 245 Wilbur Boulevard is our next public hearing. The motion to open that public hearing?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wayne?
That's a this option.
Again, for the record, my name is Wayne Seashon, Deputy Building Inspector for the town of Poughkeepsie. This particular property that we're talking about next is 245 Wilbur Boulevard. We encountered this property, actually, we had received some complaints on it going back to 2013, where we actually issued orders to remedy and a different type of condemnation order that it was unfit for human occupancy. So that all those processes were handled back at that time period in 2013. What we didn't know at the time, the grass had started to be cut. Even though there wasn't any other real work being done on the property, at least that was happening at the property. Well, since then, it's escalated. The problems at the property have escalated. And again, this is what what you're seeing right now is the latest and the greatest of what we've seen so far this year on the property. We wanted to give you an idea of what the outside looked like. This is walking up with the new town posting. These signs are what we typically put up after we've been resolute to find something. This is for our firefighters, EMT, and police officers to understand that there's nobody in the house and that they don't need to put themselves in any kind of risk if they have an emergency there.
Is that the X?
That's what the X is all about, yes. As you can tell, front door is unsecured. It's blocked in the back, but it is unsecured. What you see in the front there is the actual unfit for occupancy sign that we issued back in 2013. I need you to remember that. Violations, once we identify violations and write them up, there is no statute of limitations on them. They remain a violation. The only thing you're doing is you can go back, if it exists again tomorrow, when you go back tomorrow, you can redocument that violation still exists. In a court of law, it goes against the property owner to, when a judge is looking at his options saying, what can happen? If you've documented 2 days, it's worth that many days worth of fine. So now what we've got is the complaint was that people are beginning to dump things on the property. I have the pictures of 13. I really didn't want to put them into here because there are so many of them, but before, this at least had its garage door down. Looked like it was at least trying to be kept up on. Now it's totally different. What they're doing is they're backing in and dropping things right off the truck. And when I say there's a little bit more than a little, there's hundreds of bags of garbage back there. This is what we would normally see, just kind of like the last public hearing. You're seeing the stuff. This is the same stuff that was there in 2013. But this was not.
Oh.
And what they're doing is they're covering it up with a set of tarps here, there, in the next place, just to try to throw you off and so you're not looking at the bags. So this is the same pile. You're looking at the back of the house there. Another different pile. We've got rodents, whichever kind they are back there ripping the bags open. This is another different pile. Just like these three are.
Oh.
Wayne, excuse me. Are other people dumping stuff there?
People are dumping there, actively dumping.
How about companies with trucks, you said?
The stuff that we don't put on the record because we don't conduct a criminal investigation when we do these. I talk with the police department on a regular basis about properties when we're dealing with it, and they're very, very helpful. We were told, and that's hearsay, so it wouldn't work in a criminal case, but it was the daughter of the former owners. Both owners have passed away. And the daughter had inherited other properties as well, and she was taking things out of there and depositing here. Do we know that for a fact? Absolutely not. But that's what we were told. So more and more keeps showing up.
Wayne, just a question. This reminds me of my old days when I used to go look at the medical waste in the dump. Is that a process that we look in the bag and see if we can find any type of home address or names from this bag? And I'm not sure if they're garbage or just items, household items. Is that something we do just to see who's doing this?
No. And I'll explain why. It is not worth the risk of the health of the inspector to reach into that bag to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
We may be exposing something we just have no clue of what's there. If they're depositing hazardous chemicals as part of the debris fields that are back there, we're exposing our own people to this unnecessarily. That's why we take the standoff approach of okay, if we have to do it, we're going to try to do it with machines, bring them in, put them in the dumpsters, let's get the dumpsters carted away and handled that way. The fewest amount of exposure problems as we can possibly make for everybody involved, the neighbors on any side of them, anybody else that might come in contact.
Yeah. And if this trash is coming out of the city, they take it very seriously. Their fines are hefty if you're caught. If you put something on the curb that they will not take they hit you with a certified letter, and it's an enormous daily fine. And even if you just remove it and put it in your garage, that's not good enough. You have to dispose of it. So if this is coming from the city, they have a problem. But there's no excuse. Dumpsters are not that expensive. No. And maybe 3, well, if you pack them tight, you could probably do that in 3 dumpsters easily.
Yeah, this is going to take more than 3 dumpsters.
Well, I'm just talking about the debris fields in the backyard.
Well, the thing is that liability, because, again, for their own goods, they don't know what's in those bags, and with that contaminate the ground of the property, too. You know, God, hopefully it's only pot and pans in there, what I saw, but hopefully it's not paint or any type of other chemical.
I didn't see those kinds of things, and honestly, if we find things like leaking oils, we call DEC.
Yeah.
They're the appropriate agency to handle that. If we find other hazardous chemicals, we'll notify the fire department to see what their suggestion would be on how to handle it. If we find those kinds of things, most of what I was identifying here was garbage and trash, cleanouts from houses, or properties. If this was all on one house, it had to be a pretty big house, I'll tell you. This is the back door. Again, wide open. Except that once you make it, you're into 4 feet of garbage on the inside. Obviously, as you can tell by now, it's in an advanced state of disrepair.
I noticed on the previous picture, it looks like mold on the window ledge there.
Yes,
Yeah.
clearly. And that happens in a number of locations throughout the house.
So when you go in this property, are you covered with safety?
Yes, absolutely. The town has afforded me, whatever I need to go in and
You
deal.
have a mask with the pink
Usually I
filter.
tape up. I wear a Tyvek suit.
Yep.
I have rubber gloves, respirator. I have my hard hat. Yes, we take.
I want to call the building department on you. You know what I mean?
we take every appropriate caution. I never know what I'm going to find. I really don't. And anyway, I mean, we could walk into one of these and it might be a clandestine meth lab for all we know. Where it's highly volatile and really, really bad.
Do you go by yourself or you have someone with you?
It depends. There's times that the fire inspector and I will do it together. Sometimes the other building inspectors and I will do it together. A lot of times it's just me doing the initial workup. So that's the living room. Pretty hard to navigate, as you might imagine. Again, they kind of speak for themselves. I mean, I know I'm there looking for structural issues and other unsafe entities, but sometimes when we come through these places, some of these places have some of the most awesome furniture that people just leave behind. Some of the stuff that you can't even find anymore, you know? It's just unbelievable. And this happens routinely.
Yeah.
Basements like that. Saw a flash of water, looking at it with a flashlight. I don't need to go down and step in that. So there we are. It's clearly unfit for human occupancy.
Yeah, and this is really disappointing because one of the other houses that had been abandoned, either next door or down one from it, is in the process of being renovated, and it's being flipped. So this is just very disappointing.
It's right next door.
It is next door. Yeah, this is just
Yeah.
because it looked like that little section of the street was starting to turn, and for them to be dumping trash like this is unbelievable.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to discuss this public hearing? Not? We have a motion to close this public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Whereas by Resolution 3.1 SC1 of 2017, adopted March 1st, 2017, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie has determined that the premises and buildings located at 245 Wilbur Boulevard, Poughkeepsie, County of Dutchess, State of New York, bearing grid number 6160-01295538, the premises the owner of record being Stanley C. Millsbaugh or his successors as trustee of the Stanley C. Millsbaugh Living Trust dated 4/20/1994, and Bernice B. Millsbaugh or her successors as trustee of the Bernice B. Millsbaugh Living Trust dated 4/20/1994, each as to an undivided one-half interest as tenants in common are dangerous, unsafe, and debilitated and an imminent threat to the general public. Whereas the Town Board has adopted the Building Department's unsafe building investigation report regarding the premises and directed the issuance of an order of notice requiring the demolition or repair of the premises and the setting of a public hearing regarding the order and notice. And whereas order and notice of the public hearing has been served and posted, which order included a direction that the required work begin immediately and must be commenced not later than 30 days from the service of the order and notice and be completed no later than 60 days thereafter. It gave further notice that on failure to timely comply, the Town Board is authorized to repair, demolish, and remove the building, or to seek an injunction to compel thereof owner to do so and amass the expense thereof against the premises as a special ad valorem levy under Town Law Article 15, and to institute a proceeding to collect the expenses of such work. And whereas the Town of Poughkeepsie has the order and notice reserved its right to proceed more rapidly with the remediation of this site if it's required pursuant to Town Code 71-12, and whereas a legal notice of public hearing was posted on March 13, 2017, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on March 17, 2017, and whereas a public hearing has been held this day, now therefore be it resolved that in the event the owner has not timely commenced or completed the repair or demolition, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie authorizes and directs the Building Department to demolish or remove the building by town employees or the responsible contractor making the lowest price proposal to the town consistent with Town Code 71-10, and to thereafter assess the premises and levy and collect the expenses of same as provided in Article 15 of the Town Law for the levy and collection of special ad valorem levy. And be it further resolved that this work is an enforcement proceeding and is therefore a Type 2 action, which is exempt from environmental review under 6 NYCRR 617.5C, Section 29. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do you have any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. We have a fourth public hearing. Thank you, Wayne. We have a fourth public hearing. It's to amend the stop signs on Main Street, Reed Road, and Channingville Road in New Hamburg. All we're doing is changing what was Main Street and Main Street to Channingville because it was incorrect prior to this. With that, we have a motion to open public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody that would like to discuss public hearing number 4, Channingville Road, Main Street, Reed Road, stop signs? If nobody, we have a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Be it act that the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie pursuant to a public hearing held on the 5th day of April 2017 at 7 p.m. at Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Overrock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, does hereby amend Town Code, Chapter 195, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, specifically 195-44, Schedule 9, Stop Intersections. With brackets, language will be removed and underscore language to be added as follows. Repeal 195-44, Schedule 9, Stop Intersections. Stop sign on Main Street, New Hamburg, directional travel, both, at the intersection of Reed Road. Add 195-44, Schedule 9, stops intersections. Stop sign on Main Street, New Hamburg, directional travel, north, at the intersection of Reed Road. Stop sign on Reed Road, directional travel, east, at the intersection of Main Street, New Hamburg. Stop sign on Jenningville Road, direction of travel, south, at intersection of Reed Road. And be further enacted that the legal notice of public hearing was posted on March 24, 2017, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on March 28, 2017. And be further enacted that the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does determine that this action is a Type 2 action requiring no environmental review, and be further enacted that local law shall become effective immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Come the end of our public hearings. We have a rather lengthy agenda, but I don't think there's a lot of earth-shattering news on it. So the first one, we have a small presentation on the finalized budget of last year and a few things that we'll be doing this year. Number 6 is lead agency for Marist Steel Plant. Number 7 is lead agency for Marist College for 51 Fulton Avenue. Four Sons Realty Corp. rezone. It's off of Sheaf Road. Set a date for public hearing for tax exemption for solar and wind farms is going to be taken off for tonight. Number 10, construction of an E-roof. 11, accept the retirement of Matthew Dodona from the Police Department. Number 12, accept the retirement of Douglas Hausman from the Police Department. 13, a maintenance agreement with Business Electronics. 14, walkway over Hudson Marathon, half marathon, College to College 5K to be held on Sunday, June 11th. Miles of Hope breast cancer event at the Senior Center. 16, Babe Ruth Cal Ripken baseball parade to be held on Saturday, April 22nd, 10 a.m. 17, Town of Poughkeepsie Little League parade to be held on Saturday, April 29th, 2017, 11 a.m. Set a date for public hearing on the historic designation of Violet Avenue School. 19, approve a 30-day waiver of a liquor license to the Tomato Cafe on 15 College View Avenue. 20, park use fee to be waived for Ketchum Baseball Summer Camp. 21, the following claim has been referred to legal, Hernandez versus the town. And we have 4 special consents. Number 1 is a FOIL appeal, Stephen Kiss denial of a FOIL request. 2, appointment of Joe Giamatti to Board of Assessment Review. 3, retain Vanderwater and Vanderwater for O'Neill Dutton. 4, notice of claims to Dorado versus the town, Davis versus the town, and Gonzalez versus the town. With that said, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for public comment on agenda items.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Does anybody like to discuss any item on the agenda at this time? Mr. Armstrong.
Number 19 on the liquor license waiver, I understand it's just a formality here. I don't know if this is a new place or a different owner or change the name or whatever it is, but my concern is how many times that there are calls to the college for inebriated 18 and 19-year-old students. I don't know what the answer is to it, who's responsible, but I know some of the parents are probably going to get upset now because it's going to cost them for ambulances to come there. But the fire department sends out engines to these things also. And what responsibility the college has, I don't know. And whether these places need to be checked a little more often for the underage drinkers?
Well, we do go, we talk to the police department with a lot of these, and they know that we have them. So if they have issues with any of them, they have had issues with one or two over the years, we make sure we address it, and they can address it to the state liquor authority going forward. I don't think this is one of those.
Well, this may not be this one here, but I'm just saying, there's many calls for that college when they're in session of the underage drinking. And I've been there and done that, and know what it's like in the whole 9 yards, but it's a cost factor now. Hopefully the fact that their parents are going to have to get involved with the cost of it, maybe it'll help. But I just hope we're keeping an eye on this stuff to see if it can be slowed down or corrected or brought under control.
We'll keep an eye on it.
There's a lot of it.
We address with both colleges.
Yes, I'm sure we do.
We've been pretty good. Community policing officers have been out there numerous times. And
I have no doubt on that, but...
And Vassar's been pretty coming forward, and a lot of Vassar students don't even leave the campus.
Yeah, well, I hope it's going to get better, but...
The good majority of students stay on campus.
I doubt it. I doubt it. Okay, thanks.
So anybody else would like to address any item on the agenda? Harold?
I'm Harold Warren, the Vice President of Congregation Shomer Israel. Rabbi Langer is with me. This is with regard to number 10, the construction of the Eruv. Now, if anybody has any questions, we're delighted to answer them, and that's all I really have to present.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Would anybody else like to address the board or any item on the agenda? If not, we have a motion to resume the rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Charlie and I are going to do a small presentation. Charlie is going to do the finances of how we ended up at the final end of the year. I'm going to do a few pieces on what we've gone forward and what we're going this year and some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that we accomplished last year. Small presentation, just let people know where we stand. And the books are done for this year so far. So Charlie's filing all those audits and things now. One more, Charlie. Okay. All right. So in the last couple of years, the recreation department's been going around, and they're trying to take some of the parks and some of the old chain link fencing down, and we're putting up post and rail fence. It gives the park calmer looks in the park, and it gives it a clean feel. So we did some last year. We're going to go forward with that this year. In Greenvale Park, this year we got a grant from Senator Serino's office, and we're going through the process now, getting price quotes on putting a couple real bathrooms with real building in there. That'll help us during our concert series in the park down there 2 or 3 years ago. We put in a new pavilion down that end of the park. So that's beneficial. And this is also a park that holds our summer camp. And we just think it's a cleaner, more effective way instead of using porta potties down there to have real bathrooms. We're going through the process with that, with the dormitory authority, moving forward with that. Next one is we're taking the senior center entranceway there, and we're looking to make it more handicap accessible, with the door that are open for people in wheelchairs and so on and so forth. And that grant also came through Senator Serino's office. Town Hall, Town Clerk's office is doing some computer software updates. Felicia finally got her online dog licenses up and running the other day, and that seems to be just about ready to go, so people can do it online as opposed to coming up here for a small $10 fee. I think a lot of people will be happy to do it online and have to come to Town Hall every year. And she's also be finally accepting credit cards and taking us out of the dark ages on that. So we're moving forward with that.
It's taken a while.
Yeah, it's been a long process to go forward, but I give Felicia credit. And also, on the note, which has happened since I put this together, is that starting the first of the month, the town clerk's office will be the one issuing all the handicap permits now. Also, for the time being, if they do show up at the police station, they'll be working with them to make sure this is a smooth transition up to the town clerk's office. And a few years back, we took out bonds for our roads. We did a couple $10 million bonds. They've come due. So last year we bonded again for the roads, and Mark Pfeiffer did almost 30 roads yet last year with his money. This year he's doing over 25 roads. If you can get any more out of it, he'll do that. Also, when we were our first bonds, there was a lot of roads that need to have drainage done. A lot of roads he's doing now, the money's going a lot further because our bond rating has increased. The money was at a better rate, so the money's going a lot further. Our sewer plant's going through a major upgrade right now. Our sewer transmission lines are going through major repairs. We're relining a lot of lines, which goes to the last item there, which is the I&I that's leaking into when we have storms like this that put the sewer plant in jeopardy of overflows. By relining some of these pipes, finding the catch basins where they leak or catch basins that have heavy infiltration in them, this should help us moving forward so we don't have any overflows or anything through the DEC with this. Police Department is one of our favorite topics. This year we're going with a computer system upgrade that's been way overdue. We originally started out with this project that was over $1 million for the project that the town was to handle itself. So we sat down with the chief and some staff and we decided we met with the county, and the county came up with a plan that we can work with them with the New World system over in the police department. And by doing that, we got the cost down to $400,000. And after we did that, we applied for a shared service grant last year, and we were awarded $280,000 on that grant. So from going from over $1 million, we're down to less than $200,000. We may have found a few things that going forward that we may have to add on, but it seems to be a pretty tight program, and it's an 18-month startup for this program, so it won't be done until early next year. We have in the budget 5 new vehicles this year. We have a Citizens Police Academy, which I give credit to Officer Hamill and the chief for moving forward with this. Last year we had a junior police academy for students that were finishing up their high school years, and they graduated last year with a phenomenal, attendance record. They were just happy with the program. So we came back to this year. They wanted to try it with some of the local citizens. And right now on Tuesday nights we have a Citizens Police Academy going on. We're also putting a document storage system over there this year. And then we'll have online accident report retrieval system, which the insurance companies will be able to come in and get the retrieval system online as opposed to coming in the police department always looking for an accident report, and they'll pay a price online as opposed to coming here. This is the list of the grants we got last year. We got $280,000 for a shared service grant. That grant went to the police court facility for an update to the IT system. We got a $15,000 police vest grant. We got a $46,000 grant from the senator's office for a K-9 vehicle. We got a $14,000 seatbelt aggressive driving grant, $4,000 Office of Mental Hygiene grant. That went for some training of our police officers in reference to some of the issues that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, handling some of the patients or constituents that have mental health problems. We have a $9,700 video recording system grant and $250,000 for a SAM grant, which was 4 items, and that was for the police department. No, it wasn't for police. That's for the bathrooms at Greenvale, the door at the senior center. We're getting a leaf machine for the highway department and a bucket truck for the highway department, so he doesn't have to rent one every year to work on tree trimming along the roads. And then there was one last grant that we got that's sort of tied to the town. Randy all sat down the Joint Water Board and applied for a grant a couple of years back in reference to doing the upgrade on that plant, which is done. And that turned out to be a $3 million grant. We got $3 million, and the city got close to the same amount, so that cut almost the cost of that project in half. And at that point, I'll turn over the budget part to Charlie.
Okay, these are the final numbers for 2016. They have to go through the audit, so there might be minor changes. So this is the revenue, and I just did what we budgeted and what the actual came in on the revenues. You can see the A fund came in over budget by $30,000. The B fund was short only $446 based on $18 million. It was very good estimates. Highway fund came in short $98,000. Water fund was short revenue-wise $337,629, and the sewer fund came in with a positive $114,630. And this is where I guess we can help by the expenses, and we don't hit the revenue numbers, the expenses are reduced. So you can see here, A Fund came in 497 under budget, B Fund 772 under budget, Highway Fund was 514,000 under budget. So when the revenues don't come, we're still on a positive, and I'll show you the next screen, budget and actual. And you can see all the funds. Water came in 543,000 under budget, and the sewer 595,000 under budget.
Charlie, just a question as far as the highway department. All the numbers came in, are those numbers with the snowstorm that we got a few weeks ago?
No.
No, so those numbers haven't come in?
No, that's 17.
Okay, but
That's one of the issues we have when you budget for a year, we're January to December.
Yeah.
So, we got hit, which is the better at the end, and we're hoping that when it comes to the December end, that we don't get hit and we can move forward, because we've burned through a great portion of our budget.
Yeah, because I just went through payroll. I get the final numbers. If you want, I'll put something together on that storm. I know we're working with the county on.
The county's asked the other day for a rough count of what we spent on the storm, because they were trying to see if they hit the threshold that would activate, some FEMA money, and they called us back on Tuesday, and they said, yes, all the county as a whole has beat that threshold, so now we're putting together hard numbers between sewer, water, highway, everyone works together, and recreation does plowing to get their numbers in, so we can hopefully get some FEMA help on this.
Okay.
So for the year, this is the actual revenue versus appropriations. In the 8 Fund, revenue, you can see $6,316,000, leaving us with a surplus $518,569. On the B Fund, revenue $18,805. We spent $18,063. So $741,000 to the positive going into fund balance. Highway Fund, even though the revenues didn't come in where we wanted, expenses were down, so we have a surplus in highway, $265,683. Water Fund, again, the revenues didn't hit, but the expenses were also down, so we still pull in positive of $205,516 on the water, and the sewer, a positive $461,112. So overall, very good year. It's almost $2 million in surplus going into the fund balance. A Fund, last year, we were just coming out of the red, and we had like a $60,000 just in the black. So this 518 will be very helpful moving forward. When we talked to the bond rating agency last year, they were concerned about our fund balances. And I think they'll be happy, some very good numbers. And as we were saying, Jay was saying, all the investments we're doing in the infrastructure, we have a lot of bonds coming off the books now from the 90s, late 80s and 90s, and interest rates were about 7% back then. So those debt services coming off makes it helpful where we can rebond at a much lower interest rate without affecting the taxes.
So we got an extremely low band rating this year. No, Charlie, what was this year's band rating when we just got? Under 1%, wasn't it?
The ban?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an $8 million ban. We got like 1.3%.
Yeah. So it was a nice low number compared to the 7s and 8s we had before.
Yeah.
They're almost going to pay us to borrow money.
Let's change it now.
So, I think this, I just throw some charts up with the revenues. You can see the franchise tax has been slowly growing. Franchise taxes from the cable companies. That's at a constant growth. You can see sales tax, where we're budgeting in the red, and the sales tax has been coming higher. For the last couple of years, we've been getting a nice check, like after our set amount, and do a review on the total sales tax for the county, and based on population, we've been getting a nice sizable check that increases our sales tax the last couple of years.
Yeah, they took the money from us a few years back, and they came out with a calculation that as the sales tax grew, they would give us a percent of it back, and it's based on population. The first year we got a check back was, I think, $100,000, and that was the year they had the energy tax. So we thought the next year, when they took the energy tax off, it was going to dip back down, but it went up to 200-some thousand dollars, and this year it's up to 300-some thousand. The only thing we budgeted on this was like $50,000 because we didn't want to go, if sales tax numbers was down, and overestimate a budget number. So we figured we were safer keeping a low number because it's only the third year we've been getting these checks, so we don't want to jump the gun, sort of like we did with mortgage tax, and get out of line where we are.
Yeah, so you can see where the drop when the county did the reevaluation, and we're steadily climbing back up to where we used to be. So things are looking better there. And mortgage tax, I guess there's been a lot of activity. The last 2 years, we sold some major properties. And I think the first 3 months, or the last 3 months of last year, covered our whole budget. So it's looking good for this year coming in. We'll definitely make the mortgage tax numbers.
And still a number we don't want to put out of the ballpark. We want to keep a very low number because years ago we were $1.2 million a year, and then it dipped down as you look at that screen to where it dropped down to 600, just slowly climbing back up. So it's still a little touch and go. So we want to make sure we don't overinflate any numbers, and we'd rather have a budget that's as close to actual as possible.
Yeah, because they're one-time sales. It's not like a constant sales. So you
We
want
had
to
a
be
couple of
careful.
big buildings that one of them sold twice.
That's it.
Charlie, thank you.
I think
Any questions?
if I, been on the finance committee, I think this is a great leadership. Started with Todd and continue with Jay, watching the money and the budget. And I think this is I just want to congratulate Jay, and obviously we don't want to give Todd credit, but and Charlie watching the money. I think it's a great budget. It makes, I would say, lots of people jealous, if I might say that. But
a lot of credit goes to Charlie. When he came on board, he was gone for a few years, and he came back. He really, the knowledge he picked up in other municipalities that he worked in that were in financial issue, Charlie came back with a lot of that knowledge going forward. He had different groups and organizations he worked with, so a lot of stuff he brings to the table is a little different, and he's got ways that they've saved money over the years, so he's bringing a lot of those into us too. So Charlie and his staff he has in his office are doing a phenomenal job.
yeah. It's tough being, and speaking for myself, being in business, and when you do a budget, it's not easy, especially when you do a budget for 30,000 people and plus, and then you have to show the money and stuff like that. So great job, Charlie, and thank you for making my job much easier being on the committee. So great job, Jay.
Hey. Number 6.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby consent to the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board acting as secret lead agency for the project known as Maris Steel Plant Studio Site Plant 1 and 2 Beck Place and 3063 North Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. Tax parcel numbers 6062-02, 996750, 969745, 982720, 982744, 974742. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Be resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby consent to the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board acting as secret lead agency for the project known as Marist College 51 Fulton redevelopment site plan 51, 57, and 40 Fulton Street, Poughkeepsie, New York, tax parcel number 6162-05-062838, 083848, and 064792. So moved.
Second.
Your motion is second. This one. Any questions on this one?
Well, is this going to include that area behind the building? This is the old paper place.
Correct.
Is it going to include that triangle parcel behind it where it's all garbage? Because the crushing and all that, the garbage area?
No.
So
That's
it's just going to do the front part?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's going to stay in the back?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the town board has received an application from Forsen Realty Corp. requesting a change of zoning for tax parcel number 6159-01-283578, located on Chief Road in the town of Poughkeepsie, consisting of approximately 4 acres of land. from Highway Business BH District to Resident Multifamily RM District. And whereas the proposed amendment is attached hereto and incorporated herein, and the town board does hereby waive a verbatim reading of said amendment and does direct that said amendment be spread across the record as if it, in fact, had been read verbatim, and whereas this action to amend the zoning map is unlisted action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas the town board has determined that the proposed amendment must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development and to the Town Planning Board for review and recommendation. And whereas the Town Board has examined 6 NYCRR 617.2 U and 617.6B 5V of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA regulations, and it is determined that the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board, through its site plan and subdivision plat review and approval authority under Chapter 210 and Chapter 177 of the Town of Poughkeepsie Code, has extremely broad governmental powers to investigate the potential environmental effects associated with the application and has the experience and the capability necessary to conduct a thorough environmental assessment of the actions, and whereas amending the zone map requires a public hearing, now therefore be it resolved, 1, the town board hereby requests that the planning board act as a lead agency to coordinate the environmental review of this project, and 2, the town board hereby consents the planning board acting as the lead, and 3, the town board hereby requests that the planning board immediately seeks the consent of the other involved agencies for the planning board to act as the lead agency, and 4, the town board hereby defers setting a public hearing and the proposed zone map amendment until it has received recommendation and determination of significance from the lead agency, and 5, the town board refers this matter to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for the recommendation pursuant to GML 239M, and 6, the town board refers this matter to the planning board for an advisory report pursuant to Town Code Section 210-154. So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Number 9 will be tabled at this time. Number 10.
10. Whereas an Eru is a symbolic perimeter around a Jewish community, within the boundaries of which the members of the Jewish community may carry on the Sabbath, which includes the use of wheelchairs, strollers, and other assisted devices, thereby increasing the ability of the members of the community to take part in and enjoy the Sabbath and enhancing the quality of life in the Jewish community. And whereas Congregation Shmor Israel is creating an Eru, which the town board consented to by Resolution 820, number 10 of 2014. And whereas the congregation has requested the town of Poughkeepsie proclaim a lease to the congregation of the Eru areas described in Exhibit A hereto, which lease would convey no real property or other property rights to the congregation, would not establish or endorse any religion, would create no duties or obligations on the part of the town of Poughkeepsie, and would not impair the rights of the others. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby proclaim a lease of the rights requested to the congregation at a rental of $1 United States for a term of 20 years, renewable by the parties as they may in the future agree, in order to facilitate the ability to carry on the Sabbath within the bounds of the Eru in accordance with Jewish religious law, which proclamation may be confirmed by the supervisor. And be it further resolved that Resolution 820, number 10 of 2014, by which the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie consented to the creation of the Eru, be and the same is amended to replace the sketch of the Eru perimeters attached hereto Exhibit A. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one?
Well, actually, I just liked, for the sake of the public out here who don't get to see this map, that actually this only touches on the town on Park Avenue. So most of it is in the city of Poughkeepsie, and it only touches, actually in my ward, just for a little bit on Park Avenue and over into Hooker. So it's just a very small area that's actually in the town.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept with regret the retirement of Matthew J. Dodona from the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department effective end of business day, April 21st, 2017. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on that one. Any questions on this one?
I'd like to wish Matt a wonderful retirement. He's been a great officer and moved up the ranks a little bit, different jobs, and he's going to be missed. He's a wealth of information and a great officer.
Agreed 100%. Yeah, I think Matt has done a fantastic job over the years, and he's always going above and beyond wherever he's needed. He's helped with grants and a bunch of different things. And to finish up his career, he's going out on duty, got injured the other day, and I wish him all well in his incident the other day, because it doesn't look like he'll be working the last couple of weeks here. So, Matt, good luck on your retirement, and good luck on recuperating from your action you had the other day trying to apprehend a suspect.
Resolution number 12.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved that the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept with regret the retirement of Douglas T. Hausman from the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department effective end of business day, April 30th, 2017. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions on this one? Any comments?
Doug Hausman's the lieutenant over there, and he was one of the two guys left that were there when I was. They hired me when I was 12. Our sincere best wishes to Doug on whatever he wants to do. A great police officer, sergeant, lieutenant for the town of Poughkeepsie.
Bill, I agree. It was always a pleasure to work with. Another one, he spent many years here, and he was actually a candidate for chief at the time, and he interviewed very well with his knowledge, and he's always had a great disposition, a little bit on the quirky side at times, but he was just a pleasure to work with because he had that human touch on top of the police touch when he worked. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor or his designee to sign a maintenance agreement with the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department and Business Electronics, Inc. for a NICE digital voice recording system for police radios and telephone lines for the period from April 15th, 2017 through April 14th, 2018, and an annual fee of $1,870. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Be resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby approved the application submitted by Susan O'Neill, Walker over the Hudson, to hold a marathon on Sunday, June 11th, 2017, starting at 5 a.m. on Fairview, Fulton, West Cedar Creek Road. Be it further resolved, the town clerk has received a certificate of liability insurance naming the Town of Poughkeepsie as additionally insured. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one?
We did this run last year, and it worked out really well. We had no complaints. A lot of people were worried at first they couldn't get out of their driveways or what. It wasn't a problem. Everything went smooth.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize Emily Craig on behalf of Miles of Hope Breast Cancer Foundation to post lawn signs with pink balloons prior to their craft show event at the Town of Poughkeepsie Senior Center in October 2017. And said signs will be located along the north side of Southgate Drive from South Road leading up to Abe's Way, with all signs being retrieved at the end of this event. And be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby waive all permit fees relating to this event for the use of the Town Senior Center. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolution 16, whereas the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie has heretofore received an application from Vincent D'Amato on behalf of the Poughkeepsie Babe Ruth Cal Ripken Baseball to hold its opening day parade on April 22nd, 2017 at 11 a.m., which parade route is outlined on the attached documentation, and now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application for said opening day parade, and that the town clerk is in receipt of a certificate of liability insurance naming the Town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie has heretofore received an application from Brian Conti on behalf of the Town of Poughkeepsie Little League to hold its opening day parade on April 29, 2017, 10 a.m., which parade route is outlined in the attached documentation. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby approve the application for said opening day parade, and that the Town Clerk is in receipt of a certificate of liability insurance naming the town as additional insured. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie, has received an application from Town Historian John Pena and the Historic Preservation Committee for the property known as Violet Avenue School, located at 191 Violet Avenue, Poughkeepsie, New York, and being said property with the grid number 6162-02-501940 to designate property as a historic property. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby authorize and direct the Town Clerk to publish notice of public hearing to be held on the third day of May 2017 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Overrock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. And be further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does direct and authorize the Town Clerk to forward notice by certified mail, return receipt requested to the owners of the parcel on which the proposed landmark sites or historic district is situated, and by regular mail to the owners all the property located within 300 feet of the exterior boundary lines of the subject parcel. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this? Comments? Ann?
Yeah, this school is already on the state and national registries of historic places, and the Hyde Park School District supports this application.
And the town, if I'm not correct, makes it a little harder for them if they want to tear it down. If the town, the state, it's not as easy, John was saying. The state doesn't have the governing powers as the town. Once the town historic preservation commission.
That's true. That
makes it harder.
Right, it makes it more difficult to tear it down. But actually, since this is owned by the state educational actually owns these buildings, so they would oversee us as to any changes to the exterior. That we really wouldn't have a voice into any changes they decide to make to the exterior of the property.
Good deal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby acknowledge SCSCVT LLC, also known as the Tomato Cafe, 15 College View Avenue, Poughkeepsie, New York, for a waiver of a 30-day review period for a liquor license application, and be further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the Town Clerk forwarding a waiver and consent pursuant to the attached request. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one?
Is this going into where Gusto's was?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful, because they're in Fishkill, and it's a really great restaurant.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. It's something Arlington. It's a benefit again. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Be resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the Parks Facility and Program Director to issue a permit and waive the park use to Pat Mealy on behalf of Ketchum Baseball Summer Camp Program for the utilization of Red Oaks Mill Park on June 26 to 29, 2017, July 5th to July 7th, 2017, and July 10th to July 13th, 2017, for baseball summer camp use due to the fact that all facilities are under renovations contingent upon receipt by the town of certificate of liability insurance in form acceptable to the town, name the town as additional insured. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
following claim has been referred to legal. Hernandez versus Town. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
The special consents. Resolution 22, 2017, be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby grant special consent to the following items. To wit, number 1, FOIL appeal. Stephen T. Kiss, denial of FOIL request. 2, appointment. Supervisor Baisley. Appoint Joseph Giamatti to the Board of Assessment Review. 3, retain legal Vanderwater and Vanderwater for O'Neill Dutton. 4, notification. Town Clerk. The following claims have been referred to legal. Dorado versus the Town, Davis versus the Town, and Gonzalez versus the Town. Be it further resolved that upon the objection of any member of the Town Board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Second.
We have motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas Stephen T. Kiss has filed a March 21st, 2017 appeal from the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department's March 9th, 2017 denial of his FOIL request for copies of video surveillance, photos, and information relating to his arrest on October 17th, 2015. And whereas the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department has located an arrest photograph of Mr. Kiss, which together with his arrest report has been forwarded to him without charge. Now therefore be it resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie denies the foregoing FOIL appeal as moved. So moved.
Second.
We have motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolution number 2, special consent number 2, be resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Joseph Giamatti to the Board of Assessment Review to fill an expired term of the late Peter Sala, which term expires September 30th, 2019. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on that one?
I would just like to say I know Peter Sala was a wonderful person. He was a neighbor of mine, and Joe's going to have. I know Joe very well too. He's going to have his shoes to fill. It's going to be very difficult, but I think he'll do a good job for us.
I agree. I've met Joe over the years, and Peter Sala was there for many years. Had a lot of real estate experience all them years in that office, and it's not one of the boards that takes a lot of time, but when you have to actually do the review process, that 1 week is pretty time consuming. So it's hard to find somebody that can actually devote all that time in that 1 week's time frame. So it took us a while asking around to find somebody. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby retain Vanderwater and Vanderwater LLP at an hourly rate of $185 for partners, $155 and $65 for paralegals to represent the town's interest in an article known as O'Neill Dutton versus the Town of Poughkeepsie. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
We already did.
4 was a notice of claims for Dorado versus Town, Davis versus Town, and Gonzalez versus the Town. We've come to the end of our Town Board meeting. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any comments on anything related to the town at all.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody like to speak to anything in relation to the town at all? Come right up now.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Rosemary Horton, and I am a resident owner taxpayer for 15 years in the town of Poughkeepsie, the Greenbrier condominiums. I'm also on their board of managers, and I'm here tonight to request and follow up on.
Hold on one second. You're not hearing that, Mr. Bell? No.
I think it might be turned off.
There we go.
There you have it. We were killing the sound before, but I guess we turned it off. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Should I reintroduce myself?
Yeah.
My name is Rosemary Horton. I am an owner-resident of Greenbrier Condominiums for the past 15 years in the town of Poughkeepsie. I am a member of their board of managers, and I'm here tonight to follow up on a request that we had asked the town
concerning opening an access from Priscilla Drive to the rear entrance of our condominium complex. As it stands at this time, we only have one method of entering and exiting that complex, and pressing issues at this time are the increasing traffic on Route 9, which is prohibitive for any of our residents trying to enter and or exit, plus the fact that we have a school bus stop at the only point that we have to enter and exit on Route 9, which is posing a hazard to not only the children and the parents there, but anyone trying to enter and anyone along Route 9. We had asked for the board to consider this, and I'm here to see if there's anything further that you would need from us, or if you've had a chance to make a decision on this.
We went out and looked at it, myself and Mr. Lepore, a few weeks ago, and we made a contact. Joe did with Spack Hill School District to see where our next step will be going forward, because they're the ones that do the bus route, and we're going to work with them. We have a meeting in a couple of weeks with them on some other issues, and we decided we would bring it up with them at that time. Joe might be able to fill in more already.
Yeah, I spoke to the company that manages your complex.
Yes.
And I looked at, I did notify Spack and Hill School Board of Director, Tom Keith, and he's looking into it. After visiting the area, my only concern would be the residents on Priscilla Avenue. And that was one of the reasons, I think years ago, that road was blocked. We're still working on it. Obviously, we trying to make everybody happy. The Priscilla residents don't want to see high traffic or shortcut through that road. So we'll see if we can come up with a better solution. At this point, I don't have an answer for you, but it's a little complicated than it looks because of that privacy that people don't want to see traffic. And also the residents on Priscilla, they like that cul-de-sac look and privacy of the road. So I'm working on it. I'm talking to Tom and see if we can solve that. So.
Thank you. I know in the past that was a concern with the residents of Priscilla Lane. We have 96 homeowners, tax-paying homeowners in the Greenbrier community versus those homeowners that are on Priscilla, and I know you need to try to balance the needs of all of your constituents. However, not only do we have the problem presented with the school bus and the traffic trying to get out onto Route 9, but in the event that that access is not available, there is no other way in or out of that complex in the event of an emergency. In past years during snowstorms, the town has actually plowed in that portion. And I know myself, I have called, and the town's been very responsive at coming back and clearing that in snowstorms. The past few years, they've done a very good job of keeping that cleared. But just to give you that further information, that should there be any emergency and that roadway that we currently have is not accessible, there is no other way in and out of that complex for emergency vehicles to get in and out.
I know, I didn't notice. Do we know why that road was blocked?
No, what she said is probably exactly why it was blocked, because we probably came for a site plan approval. The residents at that time in Priscilla didn't want it there, so they probably closed it off with an emergency access only. But talking to Joe a few weeks ago, I can't see why the bus can't come over in that neighborhood and still keep it closed, that they can't walk around and make an access point. Yeah.
Not to interrupt, there is a bus that does come for some of the school-age children at the corner of Priscilla and Indian Lane. I have seen that occur. So there is some method of the children doing that otherwise. But in general, too, for it to be a shortcut in and out of that area, how the complex is set up and the residents that use it, if they're concerned about fast driving or things like that, based on the residents that live there, we don't feel that would pose an imposition on the residents of Priscilla at this time.
Yeah, and one of the things I'd like to add also, I looked around some of the complex in the area, and in most of the complex, they only have one road going into the complex. So it might be a common years ago for the town to approve this. There is no other way to come in, and Stony Brook down Wilbert, there is one entrance, and other complex that I visit. So I was trying to get myself educated why, but It just,
We build across the street, Fox Hill has one.
Yeah.
You're right. But I think our
It has
first
one.
step is the Spackenkill School District, because it's, they're going to be the say whether we can move it at all. So when we meet them, we'll go forward. And I agree with you. Route 9 is a horrible spot to stop, and your location doesn't make it easy. In talking to, I think it was your manager of your complex, as her comment says, and when you see it all over, I can understand nobody wants to leave their second, third grader on Route 9. So on top of the narrow driveway, the residents are parking there, so it's making it tighter than a normal situation.
Yes,
So
when they drop children off, should they be parked on the shoulder and you're trying to enter the property off Route 9, it's a very hazardous situation. As it is just trying to exit onto Route 9 during traffic in the morning,
it's not the best made entrance. No.
It's not.
So if they were going to Spackenkill, we can get their input to see, what they're in favor of us working on.
Okay.
Go from there.
All right, thank you, I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
thank you.
Is there anybody else
Thank
who
you
would
for
like to
coming.
address the board? Mr. Bennell? Do we make you sit too long? Do we make you sit too long?
Yeah. I have to talk closely to this. I'm sure that everybody in this room shared my heartfelt concern about the neighbors who were impacted by those two homes that we heard about. The risks to children, to the health, endless other risks. Therefore, I would urge that the board consider reviewing these two cases. One of them started back in 2013, and see if we can learn anything about how we could improve procedures for dealing more quickly and effectively, both in terms of the particular houses, but also easing the pain for the neighborhood. And in that regard, I think we ought to look at the regulations that we heard about. How many of those are susceptible to review and challenge? And in that process, talk to some of the other towns and see if there are any models out there for handling this kind of situation more effectively. And finally, although I'm much impressed with the presentation of our building inspector director, I think we should look internally too. Could our department have done better? And could our town board? I don't know what particular committee has jurisdiction over reviewing these kinds of things. But again, it was a very humanly painful story, and we've got to react together. Thank you.
No, I agree with Mr. Burnham. Also along that line is the quicker the residents call and notify us, because some of them are homeowners and some of them are banks, and sometimes the process to find a bank is, it's gotten easier with the way the state is changing, but it's not the easiest process. So I agree with you. The quicker we know, the quicker they can get them started. And we will review those in the morning to see if they're a lot worse. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board at this time? Come right up.
Again, my name's Elizabeth Armstrong. A FOIL request, that's freedom of information. Why would how do you decide when to deny a request for information, or why, based on what?
The FOIL statute is literally that. It's a statute, and it provides enumerated circumstances under which materials do not have to be provided. One of those instances is where you've done an examination and your search doesn't reveal that documents are available, and that was the response that was originally given. But the department looked again and they did come up with a picture, and they sent that picture along with a copy of the arrest report to the requester. The requester received the documents that he had asked for, and to my mind, my recommendation to the board was that mooted the request. or the need
Okay,
for
so
an
there
appeal.
was no other, there was no footage? I mean, you mentioned
No, we didn't hold
footage.
anything back.
He said, somebody said footage. There is no footage?
No, they sent him what they had, just a picture. He was looking for video footage or something. We didn't have any of that.
Okay,
Yeah, we didn't hold anything back. We just didn't have anything to give him.
okay. I just wanted to know what the procedure was for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else who would like to address the town board? If not, could a motion resume the rules?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can we have,
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for an attorney-client session. So moved.
second? All in favor? Aye. Town board goes into attorney-client session at 8:55 PM.
Sure.
Yeah.